Welcome back to another battle report, folks. We're playing another distance game today, another remote game. I'm playing Brian, and we're playing a match-up we've not done so far. It's going to be Hungarians against Romanians. Now, I'm going to take the Romanians, Brian's going to use the Hungarians. And we're going to, as you'll see, play a game which is fairly hilly terrain, thinking about like Transylvania, you know, the battles between the Hungarians and the Romanians at the point at which the Romanians changed sides to the Allies. So let's go and take a look at the lists. Here's a Hungarian list. Now we've kind of gone with what's available. For instance, I've not yet painted mortars, heavy machine guns, anti-tank guns or such likes. So it may be a bit of a weird list, but maybe still effective. So Brian's taken a formation of Sindri's, company command 2 platoons of 3, and then infantry company command 2 platoons of 7 plus a Shrek, and they've each got a Faust. So a good anti-tank in there. And those are the two core formations. And then to back it up, he's got an artillery battery. Well, there's also a Toldy. It's unpainted, so it's not going to look cool here anyway. But there's a wee Toldy spotter. And Brian's decided not to go full on because he could have had another 3 Zinris in there. And maybe something else, but he's just gone full on for some anti-tank with 3 Hungarian Panthers. So there's support. And there are the core formations. Don't forget those guys can do bombardments too. Now the Romanian list is made up of 2 formations with support as well. You've got an infantry formation which has got 2 platoons of 7 bases, each with a Shrek and a Faust being added to. Then they have, one of them has also got the light mortar, the 60mm mortar, because I had a point going spare. And then they've got 4 medium mortars. Company command in the middle there as well. Another formation is 3 platoons of Panzer IVs with a company command, as you see there. That's a nice neat 40 points as well for a reserve split. And then, there's something else I've not put on yet. There's also 3 TACAM T60s, which I will stick on the table as mobile anti-tank guns. In support, a battery of 100mm plus an observer on foot, 3 TACAM anti-tank guns, and as I said, 3 TACAM T60s, which I'll need to dig out. They're in there somewhere, guys. And that's going to be mobile anti-tank, which in this table, depending on who's attacking, who's defending, the mobile anti-tank may be a lot better than the static anti-tank. They may find it hard to get line of sight or to move somewhere they can get line of sight. So there you go, folks. The Romanian list. Hungarian infantry are rated as careful, confident, trained, with an improved last stand of 3+. They can be in platoons of 7 or 10 bases. The bases are rifle MG bases, so they have a rate of fire of 2. And you can add in a Panzerfaust and a Panzer Shrek and also a heavy machine gun. So you can boost your anti-personnel hitting power and also your anti-tank hitting power, which makes them good in defence, very solid, able to withstand assaults from tanks, and also allows you to go after tanks with those 2 anti-tank weapons. Zrinri assault guns are rated as careful, fearless veteran, which is a very good skill set all round. They have a counter-attack of 5+ and assault of 4+ because they're assault guns, however. Now their main weapon is a 105mm howitzer. It's got a direct fire range of 24 inches and a bombardment range of 64 inches. Anti-tank is 10 direct with a 2+ firepower and includes the brutal, heat and forward firing, slow firing rules. So it's quite a complex vehicle that you want to consider how you're going to deploy. But it can also fire bombardments, which is very useful because you can not only provide covering fire for troops from a standoff, you can also close in with its decent front armour for some close-in fighting. The M43 anti-tank gun is rated as careful, confident, trained. It's got a 5+ last stand and a 5+ assault because it's a gun. The last stand rating can be improved to 4+ using the peasant army rule, as can the assault rating be improved to 4+2. Now it's got a good range of 36 inches and an anti-tank rating of 13 with a firepower of 3. So all round it's a very powerful anti-tank weapon that will be hard to hit and can dish out a lot of damage. So it's one to watch if you're attacking. Very good ambush weapon and also able to hold its ground against all but the toughest enemy tanks. So here is the table for today. We're imagining a clash between Hungarians and Romanians in Transylvania. Bit of an historical setting. So we've set the table up accordingly. So what you can see is lots of hills. Basically, this is a pass through the hills, through the mountains, this road. It's going to be the main focus of the game. We'll choose we'll choose a mission that reflects that. So just about the terrain, so what we can see here is, like see this hill, everything on the top is wooded. That hill is only wooded where the template is. So everything on the top of that hill is wooded. Not the slopes, because that starts to get a bit tricky in terms of how far into the wood you are and actually, having things sitting on the slope and sliding off. No. Over here, once again, just what's in the template. And then you can see these things here, these are going to be sort of broken ground. So anything in the template is going to be in low terrain for the purposes of concealment, similar to crop fields. And it'll be a cross check as well though, because it is broken ground. Now, there's also a lake, a bit of a mountain lake, and a destroyed monastery. Who knows? There might even be a vampire in there, as this is Transylvania. So, very much different kind of table for us for this game, folks. So let's go over now and see what the mission's going to be. So the mission we're playing today is Free for All. It's a very simple mission, as you can see. Basically squaring up to each other with the exact same deployment zones. Everything on the table at the start, and the objective in these little zones towards the back of the deployment zones. You roll off to see who's nominally the attacker, so the attacker chooses which end to attack from. Other than that, the only special rule is the meeting engagement, which means that the player who goes first, and that is determined after deployment by rolling a dice, highest goes first. That player cannot fire bombardments, use aircraft, and all other firing is rate of fire is worked out at the moving rate of fire. Taking objectives is a standard victory conditions, and they can be claimed at any point during the game. So everything's on the table, so we should be able to build up enough momentum in this game, I hope, to get a victory and not another draw. So the mission is Free for All. Brian rolled to be the attacker. He chose this side. He liked the two big lumps of hills to potentially hide behind. So he placed objectives first. He placed one here and then one here. And I kind of did something similar. I placed one in this corner and one here in the middle. You know, you do want to try and spread your opponent out as much as possible when you're placing objectives, but that works best when you are the attacker. It's pretty hard if you've got to attack and defend and you split yourself wide open, you know, like objectives in opposite corners of the table, because then it's hard to support yourself when it comes to attack. Coming off, for instance, coming off an objective and forward, that's the thoughts we've had anyway. So in terms of deployment, we've got a wee toady observer down there. The Zinris have all deployed here as a big lump. So that's one platoon, 2 platoons, company command. That's 3 templates. That could be really nasty. Platoon of infantry command, a platoon of panthers, the artillery, and platoon of infantry in and around the wood and stretched out over there, so it's not possible to get past that flank without an assault unless that guy at the end, of course, is killed. So I have deployed like this. I've got platoon of infantry here around this objective. They're backed up by the TACAM T60s, the mortars, the observer with a really good field of view. Then I've got a platoon of Panzer IVs and an infantry platoon across here. They've got the light mortar. I chose to put that platoon there because that light mortar can see down the road towards an objective I want to attack. Anti-tank guns, 3 of them. Artillery. And then company command plus 2 platoons of Panzer IVs. Now, before we go any further, I need to remember to do my peasant army roll for the Romanians. So I will do that off camera because that's going to take a wee bit of dice rolling, guys. But just to remind you, if you get a 5 or a 6, you get a better skill rating and an improved last stand. There are no disadvantages. You know, you can't get a worse rating at all for it. So I'm going to do that and give you a quick summary before we roll to see who gets first turn. So who did get it? This infantry platoon. So they've got a better last stand and a better skill. The mortars and the better skill is going to really help there. Then the tank guns, well, it's probably going to be last stand that's important for them. Company command and company command. But none of the tanks got it, which is a pity because they have got a training level, the Panzer IVs anyway, a training level of just green, I believe. So they could have done with a better roll. But there you go, folks, we're ready to play. I'll clear all the junk off the table and we will see who's going to go first to get on with the game. Turn 1. And who's going first? It's me, the Romanians, which means no bombardments. Which got me a bit worried because that means next turn they guys can unleash quite a few bombardments. So what I've done is, in terms of movement, my TACAM T60's moved up. 2 of them could get into line of sight and range of the Zinris. These guys moved around a hill to start to threaten the Zinris. 2 of my anti-tank guns had line of sight, 1 on the Zinri and 1 on the observer. And then my infantry have moved up. There's a couple outside of houses and then the rest are in here. I've kept that little 60mm mortar there, but the rest have moved up. And these guys are hiding just now because I'm very scared of panthers. So in terms of shooting, couldn't do any bombardments, so there wasn't going to be a lot. It was really just down to the anti-tank guns and the TACAM T60s but at range and moving rate of fire, even for the static anti-tank guns, there wasn't very much dice going. There was 5 dice going, needing 7s, so no hits. So, over to Brian for the Hungarian Turn 1. Hungarian Turn 1. So in terms of movement, Brian is pretty much staying put except for moving these guys around in a position where he can force my hand. So in terms of shooting, the artillery, using the observer in the tree line over on the left, ranged in straight away. First time managed to kill one, kill two, hit two and kill one of them and pin those anti-tank guns. And then he used these platoons here. One of them did range in using the company command and didn't get any hits, and the other one, using their own line of sight, failed to range in. So he could have maybe wiped those anti-tank guns out. Anti-tank guns in a game like this where you're only got one anti-tank platoon and you're not deploying from ambush, they can be very vulnerable. So I do expect him to bite the dust pretty quick. Here, conscious of their shorter range against my anti-tank assets, they pulled back with successful shooting scoots, apart from the company command, but he's in a good position where he is. I think there's only maybe one gun that can see him. So, first blood to the Hungarians. Romanian Turn 2. So, in terms of motivation, the anti-tank guns unpinned. In terms of movement, these guys tactically moved to get within 29 inches of these guys. There's a reason for that. It's like a blitz and a range of 24 inches. So that keeps them at... it means that they're not going to get shot at unless the Hungarians move. Right? Now these guys are dashed around here. I just, maybe want to put him under pressure on his flank. Side armour is very weak. Front armour is good. Not so much for the side armour. Now, these guys are moved as well. It's not a game you're going to win by sitting on your backside. And then these infantry have all moved over into this house here. And then these tanks have dashed over to here. I think I stand a better chance against those Panthers if I get closer to them. Maybe mob them. Or I could just go and hide behind the hill, but that would be a pretty dull, boring game. So in terms of shooting, the anti-tank guns actually only had one target, which they managed to hit, needing a 7. First time I think I've ever hit with a 7. Straight to firepower, so of course I rolled a 1. So he's not dead yet. Then the artillery managed to range in here, got loads of hits, one failed save but I failed firepower again. And then the mortars ranged in over here, a couple of hits, one failed save and I failed firepower again. So I didn't kill anything that turn, but I could have. So we'll see what Brian wants to do. I'm putting the pressure on, but as is quite often the case in these fair fight missions, he who pushes first laughs badly. That went very wrong. If you attack first in this game, you quite often pay the price. Hungarian Turn 2. Everything remounted, unpinned, etc. Then in terms of movement, as in race, Brian decided get them up into range. They can mess about outside of range and they'll just get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So one failed a cross check, the rest got in here. I forgot to mention, by the way, they took a hit last turn from them, but made the save. Then the Panthers over here tried a blitz, but these guys are trained. The Zinris are veteran, these guys are only trained. And if they could have got a blitz, they'd be able to get probably everybody shooting this turn, but they failed. So they took a tactical move with that penalty of 1. Got one in short range, one at long range, one out of line of sight. And the infantry all stayed put. In terms of shooting, these guys never got any hits. terms of the artillery, they've managed to kill another, and it's one they really needed to kill as well, another of the anti-tank guns. These guys, so the first platoon, the Zinris, first time in action, first time shooting at tanks, a 1, a 1 and a 1. Oh, right. Next lot, 3 dice, what did they get? A 6 and a 5 against guys in the open, so they got 2 hits, and I rolled 2 6s for saves. So not an auspicious start for the Zinris. And that was about it really for the Hungarians. So we're clashing head on now, folks. Let's see how it pans out. Romanian turn 3. So in terms of motivation, unpinned and stayed. I think that was about it. In terms of movement, lots going on. These guys kept going. They tried to follow me, but it didn't work. But they're running over there. These guys took just a tactical move up to here. I didn't want to move up too far forward. And these guys dashed down to here. These guys have all lined up on the hill, so that the only way those Panthers, unless they come right round the side, the only way they're going to get shots on me is to come up onto the hill. And then these infantry moved up into these houses. So in terms of shooting, the first thing was the mortars put down a smoke barrage to mask the advance of this stuff and give Brian some things to think about. The artillery continued over here, got two fails, 2 guys at the front failed, and I rolled a 1 and a 1 for the firepowers. That's 4 1s being rolled for firepower on these guys, or there might be certainly 3 less bases there than there are. These guys here, with the help of their light mortar, all fired. It failed to range in. They got 1 hit but no kills. And that was about it for shooting, really, because I'm kind of trying to get in a position and then shoot, so to speak. Here I've got a tiger by the tail, to be honest, with these guys. We'll see if Brian wants to be aggressive or stay put. And then over here, once again, a bit of a tiger by the tail. But once again, you get nothing in this game for sitting on your backside, folks. So the initiative is still with me, but I'm yet to actually kill anything. Hungarian turn 3. So in terms of motivation, these infantry didn't unpin, even with the company command able to give them a wee support. In terms of movement, these guys did a blitz and successful cross checks, except this guy here failed a subsequent, that was to get out here. Subsequent cross check to get up there didn't pass. The guys just stayed put. Going to take advantage of the cover and go on the ground and such like, and see if it's going to make it very difficult for me to hit him, because he's getting pulled in different directions here. And also over this way, Brian was having a look at coming over there, but my guys are sitting over there. It might be too tempting a target for me, but I might be able to get them in the side and all kind of nasty things. Over here, Brian's being cautious. He could have moved up onto the hill, but with 3 dice, needing 4s, he might not have got a lot of hits, and then I might be able to fly around the side. So, in terms of shooting, the artillery stayed ranged in on the anti-tank gun in the hope of killing it. Got a hit, but I made my double save, my reroll save. These guys just stayed on the ground, and these guys fired, just got 2 dice because of where everything ended up, but they killed the lead TACAM T60. So that was Brian's turn not to do too much shooting. So there you go, folks, over to me to see if I can figure out what to do next. Romanian turn 4. So in terms of movement, the infantry kept moving up. They stayed put because they could shoot. These guys here stayed put. And then this one tried to get into cover in the wood, didn't pass his cross check, but it's in a position to fire anyway. So in terms of shooting, let's start here. These guys managed to get 2 hits and 2 kills on the Zinris. One of them was a company commander. He's moved on to another tank, which is no longer visible for various reasons. It was here. these guys took one hit from the Panzer IVs but saved. So far they've bounced all the Panzer IVs. These guys, they've got the mortars. They ranged in again, managed to get a hit and a potential kill, and I rolled another 1. That's 5 ones in a row for these guys. Then the wee mortar, it also ranged in, didn't do anything, but the big guns finally managed to kill 3 bases, including the Shrek, which might be valuable. Now over here, there is a Shrek and an infantryman in there, so that's basically in this platoon a Shrek and a Faust, and they came out and managed to double bail that, and it failed its motivation. These guys all counter-attacked and killed them for their cheek. Then over here there was another assault. These guys managed to follow me, and then moved in, killed him, and killed him in assault. That with the Shrek, that with the Faust, and then the formation commander backed off to there, because that formation is very, very shaky now. So that was quite an important turn for me. I managed to destroy a platoon of Zinrays and weaken a platoon of infantry. So Brian now needs to have a go, I think. Come at me. Let's see what he can do, if anything. So guys, Hungarian turn 4. There was one motivation. These guys finally unpinned. And then a couple have moved into this building away from here. This is more significant in terms of movement. Brian's worried about his flanks, so he's moved his infantry up into a position where it's going to be very difficult for me to get around the flank, certainly not without taking a good move. And so he's moved his Panthers up, got to get some action now, infantry out to support them. So in terms of shooting, he started with smoke barrage here. Well, because he moved these over here to point at those, he was very, very, very vulnerable. But he risked it and he got his smoke barrage in. And the rest of the shooting, these guys managed to kill the third one in line in that platoon. I would prefer it to have been him, but I couldn't. I failed my mistaken target. And then these guys managed to get just a 1 hit, got 3 dice, looking for 4s, got 1 hit. Put it on him, passed the firepower by the way, so to make it harder for me to try and get all the way around here to get him in the side. So I'm facing the front, which I will do very little damage to. And then these guys here just fired a few shots into the buildings with their MGs, but didn't do anything. Needing 6s for failed saves, you know, for firepowers, because the guys are dug in and hard cover. So I killed 2 Panzer IVs that turn, and he's got my guys in a bit of an awkward situation. So we'll see what I can do. Keep this objective under pressure, I think it is. Romanian turn 5. Any motivations that were required, I can't quite remember, other than his last stand were all passed. Then, in terms of movement, the Panzer IVs all stayed put. Everything here is moved up. These guys tried to follow me without success. Then in terms of shooting, over here they were pretty much obscured by everything, including the mortars. The mortars, they had no real targets. The observer was needed for the artillery, and the artillery managed to kill another base infantry. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so they get a bit shaky. The light mortar managed to get a hit but no kills for these guys in here, so they're pinned again. Then over here, this is kind of the important bit. I thought, I'm just going to stay put and shoot. I've got 10 dice on a 3 up, and I kill them on a 1, I bail them on a 2. But I only got 3 hits out of 10 dice. And I got a bail though. Then I tried to shoot and scoot down off the hill a bit, so they're less exposed to these guys. He, by the way, got bailed out by him. I was lucky, or unlucky, whichever view point you're going to take. If he'd have died, and he might still, he won't fail the last stand, so he's okay, because that would have broke the company, because that would just leave 1 platoon. So it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a fight for survival for me over there. trying to hold him off whilst I try and take this objective. Let's see if I can do it. So, Hungarian turn 5. What an interesting turn that was. He got back in, and then he blitzed to face that way. Panther stayed put. So, in terms of shooting, it's quite an interesting turn. Start with them. These guys tried to range in over here and failed. He fired at the Taka. He's got 2 hits, 2 kills. These guys fired at them, got 3 hits, 2 bails and a kill. One of them could have been a kill as well. The Panthers slaughtered 1 platoon, one Panther never got in. 4 shots there, 4 hits, 2 dead Panzer IVs. These guys then, sneaking up on tanks, did an assault, managed to bail and then capture, because these guys failed their motivation even with a reroll for the company command. They captured that tank. These guys bolted over this way. So basically just now there is company command, the remains of a platoon, and kind of the remains of a platoon of Panzer IVs. They got absolutely slaughtered all in one turn there, folks. The floodgates finally opened. So I can still maybe do something against this objective, but we'll see what happens with really important motivations for me with my remaining Panzer IVs. Romanian Turn 6. So that turn started with a mass exodus of Panzer IVs. The guys needed a 3 to remount and got a 1 and a 2. Over here, they did a 5 for a last stand. So, first of all, sorry, they then failed the last stand. He needed a 5, failed it. That just left the company commander, bye-bye, Panzer IVs, all gone. So the infantry are going, damn, we're going to have to do it. So in terms of shooting, which is a little bit of artillery, over here, the heavy guns and the mortars killed company command, so the second command took over. Then there was a hell of a lot of other things going on. Assaulting. First of all, these guys moved in. Got a counter fire from 2 Zinries and 2 bases in the house, but they were pinned because of a hit on an infantry base in the bombardment. So they managed to get in with just a loss of 1 base. When they were in there, they killed 2 bases of infantry. They also double-barreled that. They got shot during... 2 of them got hit by Faust and a Shrek on the way in before the assault. 1 actually saved against... it was against the Shrek, but the Faust got bailed and then it got bailed again in the assault. And that wasn't hit in the assault. They 2 counter-attacked, killed a Shrek. So they lost that to counter-fire, Shrek to assault, and then they broke off. But there was 2 bases dead. These guys had all come out. There was 1 base of infantry in range. And then, well, when they consolidated, by the way, they consolidated back the way to get counter-fire. So they guys had lots of dice. There was 8, 9, 10, 11 dice of counter-fire against them. I was like, oh no, got to do it. 4 hits. They lost 1 base to counter-fire and then charged in, killed a base that was there. The last surviving base counter-attacked, didn't kill anything, was then killed. And then they have consolidated into the house, 2 bases in there. They were on the road, just moved over, and then into here. So, depends if they run away, I suppose. If they run away, the game's in the bag. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a draw, folks, because we'll see anyway. Let's see what happens in the motivation turn for Brian's Hungarians. These Zinries are staying. These are coming over to protect him. The infantry commander has legged over there because if he dies that breaks the infantry formation. So in terms of shooting, the artillery couldn't really see anything this turn. So it was really just machine gunning. They got clobbered by 6 dice of hits, even though they were in cover. from these guys. Only one failed save, and it was against a guy in the building, so failed to firepower. These guys just got a couple of hits, and there was no failed saves. I could potentially still win the game next turn. Let me see. Or maybe not. Let's just work it out. We'll see what happens. Romanian Turn 7. So I did not unpin these infantry. So it was just down to these guys. So they bombed it up, took 4 hits in counterfire. Then they they bailed that one out with a Faust. The guy stayed in the fight for a couple of turns, killed one back, but then broke off, and it will be sufficiently far once I consolidate. Also, I'll destroy him, but I'll destroy the formation actually. So there'll just be one scenery left. So that means I've started the turn within 4 inches of the objective and ended it with no enemy within 4 inches. So there you go, folks. Just managed to squeak a win there, but there's almost nothing left. Came down to the infantry doing the job, and that's quite tricky in this game, folks, of actually getting your infantry near to an objective. So we'll go over to recap, we'll have a chat, and then I'll do a recap for you guys. So there you go, folks, a Romanian win. I basically just kept the momentum that I'd built up going, had no choice really. Like I said before, this mission quite often punishes the person who is aggressive at the start and goes out and tries to get the kill. But in this game, I thought to myself, sitting back's not an option. A, because it's not going to win you this game at all, and B, because nasty panthers, for instance, or lots and lots of barrages coming in from the Zinris. So going first in the game maybe forced me to do the right thing, and I just shut off, hoped for the best. The fact I was able to get 2 infantry platoons up in support of each other and of my tanks, even though they all died, was key. Brian may have stopped that by not bombarding the anti-tank guns, but they were a bit of a priority because they're really nasty. Really long range anti-tank 13. Now on Brian's side, he was kind of on the back foot from the off because of what I was doing. His counter-attack was very good. He wiped out all my tanks in 1 turn basically. 1 turn and a motivation step. And the following turn, that was quite nasty. And you notice what he did with these infantry. If you've got panthers and you're worried about your flanks, as long as there's not something with lots of machine guns about that will ignore the panthers, put your infantry up either side. That means tanks can't shoot past them. If the terrain's tight enough, certainly, otherwise you're going to push them out to longer ranges, if that's even possible. So it's a very useful tactic. It's one that I think I used myself in version 3 when I played the Panzer Brigade company, and you had lots of grenadiers and half-tracks. Put them out to the flank to protect it, keeps your front to the enemy, and then panthers can do what they're good at, and that's what happened in that game, them and the Zinris. The Zinris, really looking forward to using them myself. We'll see what they can do, but they're just very cool looking, to be honest. I'm looking forward to just playing with them. So, there you go. Managed to get a win for the Romanians. So, thank you folks for watching. As always, it's much appreciated. Thanks to the subscribers again. And if anybody else out there wants to subscribe, please hit the button, and it will help us bring this kind of content to more people who like this game of Flames of War.